Welcome to another episode of the Navigating Business Decisions video series. I'm Grace LaConte, and I had the privilege of working with a group of students from Kent State University on a study of business leaders in Northeast Ohio and how they are making strategic decisions and what is impacting those decisions. So what you're looking at is a report that you can find at my website, laconteconsulting.com/Ohio-survey. You can read the entire 64-page report, which I am actually explaining in this video series, and you can find more videos like this on my channel. If you subscribe, you'll be notified of more videos. Today is the 12th video in this series, and we're going over some quotes from the 7 individuals who I interviewed as part of a study beyond the survey. So this section is about generational transition and legacy, and then innovation, technology, and industry challenges. And then we're going to go on to practical recommendations in a future video. So generational transition and legacy. This is a topic that has come up over and over with the leaders that I work with, primarily those who are in their 40s to 70s years old. So that's Gen X to baby boomer generations. Many of the leaders that I talk to are concerned about how the next generations younger than them will not accomplish the goals that they set out for with their business. That they set something up, it's been working, they've been successful, and they don't want to leave it to somebody who's going to change that trajectory or potentially ruin it, ruin the legacy, ruin the effort, the sacrifice, maybe manage it in a way that's not respectful to how they set it up. And this is actually a very painful discussion that many business owners avoid having with their children or with others that they want to pass the business on to. So then it can create delays in how they leave their own business. But eventually everybody leaves their business. I mean, it doesn't last forever, right? We are only here on earth for a finite amount of time. And at some point, that business is going to be transferred to somebody. The choice is whether you can plan ahead and create that transition in a way that you want it to happen rather than it happening to you. So personally, I like more proactive planning rather than reactive when things happen to the business. And I think it's a good idea to just be aware of the consequences for either of those. Yes, it is painful to have a proactive plan where you're making these tough decisions earlier on. But on the other hand, we never know when the business might need to be transferred to someone else. And if that happens without much notice or with an emergency or some other sort of short-term process, it can actually create a lot of damage to the business and thus to the valuation and to the financial plan that you might have for the future of your family or others that you might be leaving the business to. So definitely a lot of unfortunate side effects if you don't have a good transition process. And that actually came up in the survey as well, that quite a lot of individuals who answered about transition planning just don't really know what that looks like for their company. It's really unfortunate, but I think it's a painful discussion that most people just avoid having. So here's some quotes from the individuals that I interviewed when it comes to this transition process. Passing on a business to the next generation isn't always possible. Some owners' kids are not ready or capable of doing that. Again, it's not a very pleasant discussion, but it needs to be done. And some people's family legacy can happen without the family members necessarily running the business. They can be involved, they can be proactive, they can have some say, but they don't necessarily have to be at the helm. And I think there are so many different beautiful ways that this can happen in a good outcome for everyone involved. But there are a lot of ways that currently are happening in businesses that I've noticed, family-owned businesses, where there's unspoken expectations, there are hurt feelings, there's emotional baggage and like guilt, shame, fear, trauma, like all sorts of just not so fun topics that come up that affect the business. And unfortunately, businesses are run by humans, and humans have emotions, and humans make decisions based on their emotions. So if you expect your children to take on and run the business the way that you want, they're not robots. They can't just become a version that you expect them to be. They're going to make decisions based on their own point of view. And if you don't agree with that, then, as this person said, it's not always possible. Another quote, I decided to sell my business so I could spend more time with my kids before I missed any more special events. You can almost hear the pain in this person's voice in considering that the sacrifice that they made in their business to make it successful came at the cost of special events and time with their children and with their other family members. And that is a reality for a lot of business owners. When someone shows promise and does good things for my company but doesn't listen, they won't last very long. So this has to do with the legacy that you're leaving. The culture of the company is going to be reflected very much in how you run the business, and the legacy that you're leaving for the future of how the company operates really depends on how you are operating it with your own point of view. So this person just expressing that not everybody's going to fit that ideal and that culture expectation. And so the legacy that you leave could be setting up a culture that's very clear so that the business doesn't fall into kind of disrepair once your input is no longer part of the company. And it is possible to set up a good company culture and a good set of principles that are adhered to even after you are gone from the business. People ask me, why don't you retire? And I answer, what am I going to do? Watch TV all day? This also has to do with the question that we had in a previous section about the identity shift when you leave a company. What are you doing next? How are you going to identify yourself? If you're no longer a business owner, you're no longer working 60 hours, being relied on, the main honcho, the person in charge who everybody comes to for help, and all of a sudden you don't have that responsibility, but you also don't have the position of power and leadership and control. It can be very demoralizing and difficult, and often it can lead to some really dark thoughts and even depression for business owners who don't have a transition beyond that. So this person obviously is not interested in leaving because they are happy to be in control and responsible for the operations of their business. But again, it's important to plan ahead and to know what the next stage could be, because you never know when that point will happen, and we don't always have control over how a business will transition from one leader to another, from one owner to another. Okay, about innovation, technology, and industry challenges. So this is kind of a grouping of the final quotes for this section. So much new technology is available. Trying to keep up with the competition is a challenge. And that's a challenge for pretty much every business owner that I know. Even if you're in technology as an industry, there's just so much that keeps changing. And that how are you supposed to tell what to do with that new option? And part of it is what do you invest in, and part of it is also how is that adding to the value of your business and contributing to the outcomes that you want. The next revolution in manufacturing is technology. It's the way the world is headed. The question is, what are you going to do to prepare for it? As I mentioned, a lot of the companies that I've worked with in the past are in the manufacturing sector. And technology is a really sticky problem because it's kind of a double-edged sword. It does provide a lot of benefit and value, but it is very difficult to put into place in a company that has not been utilizing it fully. And even in companies that are quite tech savvy, there's still a huge learning curve. It can highlight some problems that you didn't realize were there until you're trying to bring everyone up to speed and implement something where all the departments have to work together. It does have a lot of impact on all aspects of the business, even if it's not meant for all aspects to participate in. For example, the customer resource management software, CRM, really does have an impact on almost every department, even if it's only meant for sales and marketing. It's a good idea to consider the options for how you are going to prepare for this change, even if it's not happening at the moment. Next, we're trying to rely less on imported products. Our goal is to reshore and invest in assets where we can control the process. I think this is a really useful way to look at business needs as we continue to shift in global dynamics and political changes. And basically, if you have more control over how your business can grow and can function within the space of your industry and stand apart from competitors, you'll be able to manage changes that happen more easily. So in this person's company, they decided to have more of an investment on internal processes and reshoring rather than offshoring some of the work that they are providing through their company. Finally, we believe that we are making a significant difference with the work we're doing here. I really like ending with that quote because it shows how much pride this person has in their business and the true belief that there is a purpose beyond just the day-to-day tasks that they do. So I think this leader especially probably has a very dynamic way of explaining that to their staff, and that enthusiasm is then hopefully passing on to their customer base, potentially providing a whole new point of view on how what they're doing in the business is not just the product or the service they provide, but it goes way beyond that. So I hope this was helpful. These are some quotes from business owners in Northeast Ohio businesses who participated in this survey. If you want to find more information, you can check out laconteconsulting.com/Ohio-survey. If you want more videos like this, you can subscribe to the channel. Make sure to like and leave a comment or question if you want to interact more on this topic.